during the Ghost Festival, I was doing a live-streamed feng shui consultation when I accidentally filmed a living corpse breaking into a house. And not just any house, it belonged to the city's golden boy, a top-tier socialite. I'd hit the jackpot. Seeing a living corpse in broad daylight is a terrible omen. But then the ghoul slid to its knees, pulled out a wad of spirit money, and begged me to save it. I ended up snatching a vengeful spirit, breaking an illusion array, fighting paper effigies, and live-streaming a full-blown orgy. The chat went wild. So, this is what your world of mystics is like? Wild. The shop I inherited from my dad, Destiny's Crossroads, covers a lot of ground. I do feng shui, read yin and yang, check birth charts, and tell fortunes. I can deal with backstabbers, gossip, bad luck, and cosmic clashes. I also set up altars, perform substitutions for bad fate, and stop babies from crying at night. Of course, if the price is right, I can even handle your hemorrhoids and slip discs. All natural remedies, great results. And I always have spirit money for sale. As soon as my little ad spiel was over, the chat filled up with ha 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 and scammer. I was indignant. Back in my ancestors' day, we were called fate readers. Today, I had a big gig. Some rich guy wanted to buy a mansion and hired me to check its feng shui. I was going to cancel the stream, but my dear viewers were all clamoring for some on-location action. What could I do? They're so adorable. And their donations are so generous. I stood on the mountainside behind the residential community, looking down at the whole layout. Facing the mountain and backed by water, it embraces both yin and yang. Energy flows in from the east and collects in the west, a perfect place to gather fortune. With the mountains high in the northeast and southeast, the eldest son will prosper. And with the vibrant water to the north, great wealth is assured. The camera followed my gaze, slowly panning across the view. As I was talking, I spotted a man crawling on the outside of a villa. In broad daylight, this guy in tattered clothes was climbing across the blue and white Mediterranean-style rooftops of the community. He really stood out. The camera swept past him. I held up my selfie stick, turned the camera back to myself, and pretended to stroke a non-existent beard, my voice full of regret. To think they only built a few villas in a location this auspicious. Truly one of the most exclusive properties in the country. If I could afford it, I'd be signing the sales agreement right now. But the chat wasn't listening to my rambling anymore. They were all yelling at me to look. That guy on the house in the lower left corner. Something's wrong with him. His limbs are so stiff, and his movements are bizarre. His clothes are covered in mud, like he just crawled out of the ground. That is definitely not a normal human. I have to hand it to my audience. They managed to see all that in the 2-second pause. I couldn't pretend I hadn't seen it. I sighed, pursed my lips, and frowned. It's a living corpse. A living corpse, all right. You're all so young. Why are you so damn curious? When the sun is this bright, the gates of the underworld are weak. Today's the Ghost Festival. Seeing a living corpse in broad daylight is a terrible omen. The chat, clearly not scared by my warning, demanded I turn the camera back and throw some talismans. I wasn't happy. Nope, not gonna do it. I'm a rebel. You think you can control me? It's the Ghost Festival, a time when the earthly official pardons spirits. Maybe he's just missing his family and decided to pop back for a visit during the holiday. Besides, the #1 rule of our trade is not to interfere unless asked. The client has to come to us first. Otherwise, we'll mess up the threads of fate. They ignored me and started sending gifts, filling the screen with special effects. With a straight face, I turned the camera back around. On screen, the man had already climbed from the roof onto the exterior wall. He was moving head down, feet up, sticking to the wall like a gecko. A living corpse, as the name implies, is a corpse that can move. It has no heartbeat, no breath, and no blood. The most well-known type is when a spirit possesses a dead body. Others are controlled by dogworm insects or talismans. Those are less common. The living corpse climbed onto a balcony and was now holding a pair of the villa owner's underwear, sniffing it. The chat was a stream of ellipses. I spoke calmly. What's the big deal? Can't a guy have a hobby, even if it's a little creepy and perverted? A living corpse out in broad daylight is definitely a rare sight. My viewers, who hadn't seen much of the world, started pooling their money, one small firework gift at a time. The villa owner must be in danger. Save him. Throw a talisman. Throw it. Chant a spell. Chant it. Rush him. Get him. I was successfully persuaded by capitalism. I stood at the villa's front gate. I'm so nervous. I've only ever seen the host use talismans from a distance. Are we finally going to see her kick ass live and in person? Please, host, don't let your hands shake in a minute. I'm a little worried the homeowner might already be. Oh God, I'm already imagining a crime scene. She'll look at her stance. She's about to kick the door down. I closed my eyes and centered my energy. Then, I discreetly pressed my ear against the door. Damn. So much for courage. It was silent inside. No sounds of a struggle or cries for help. Whoever lived here was definitely rich and powerful, so I couldn't just barge in. If the ghoul got cornered and actually hurt someone, it would be a huge mess. I climbed onto the fence, trying to peer through a window to see what was going on inside. Suddenly, click. The door opened. A young man walked out. He was handsome, with a great aura about him. The kind of guy you remember forever after one look. Holy crap, isn't that Aiden Pierce? The city's golden boy. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing my idol here. What kind of treasure is this live stream? Even if the chat hadn't said anything, I would have recognized him. He was all over the news. Heir to the Pierce Corporation, a top-tier socialite, Aiden Pierce. Rumor had it that everyone in the Pierce family was a major player, dominating both politics and business. A seriously big deal. This whole development was his family's property. He leaned against the doorframe, looking me up and down with a mocking tone. Need me to call the cops for you? One look was all it took to know he was not someone to mess with. I quickly scrambled down from the fence, coughing awkwardly. That won't be necessary. I know Mr. Johnson from Triton Shipping and Mr. Lee from Apex Trading. I'm really not a stalker. I hid my phone behind my back and forced a laugh. I just saw someone climb in through your window and wanted to warn you. He acted like he'd just heard the funniest joke. You think just any riffraff can get into my house? That sounded a bit like a jab at me. I discreetly scanned the room behind him. No signs of a struggle, no crime scene. I took half a step back and nodded politely. Well, I won't disturb you then. I was a good 50 feet from the villa when I saw Aiden was still at the door. He was standing there with his arms crossed, a complicated, half-smiling look on his face as he watched me. I couldn't figure it out. I gave him a fake smile and a little wave, then picked up my pace and rounded a corner. Your dreamboat is safe. Happy now? The chat was about to explode into a full-on argument. OMG, my image of him is shattered. He was so rude. That's not rude, that's personality. When you're that rich, you don't need manners. The host was literally climbing his fence like a creep. You expect him to politely invite her in? He's so rich, anything he does is fine. I didn't say anything. It was all too normal. And that's what made it so not normal. Aiden Pierce's house was thick with Yin energy. The moment he opened the door, it seeped into my pores, making my skin crawl. For a place with such perfect feng shui to be filled with so much Yin energy was definitely concerning. The weirdest part was that Aiden himself was completely clean. Not a trace of malevolent energy on him. Very strange. Stop arguing. Is anyone else worried about the living corpse? Exactly. What happened to that huge living corpse? I swear I saw it climb in through the window. Maybe it left. I pulled out a jade pendant. It was burning hot. The living corpse was definitely still in there. This golden boy was not what he seemed. I went back to the villa, peeking over the fence. The chat was enjoying the show, with some even threatening to call the cops on me. I clicked my tongue, took off my watch and tossed it over. Just getting something I dropped. Not illegal, is it? Nice. That's a slick move. Noted. I avoided the security cameras and vaulted over the fence with a clean motion. These days, anyone with a bit of money believes in fate and has consulted more than one feng shui master. Someone at Aiden Pierce's level would have definitely hired one. It's common practice in our line of work to design hidden compartments, rooms, and even protective arrays for our clients. So when I found the illusion spell hiding the living corpse, I wasn't too surprised. Still, the moment I broke the spell, I was a little shocked. The hidden room was huge, at least 700 or 800 square feet. 12 large red paper lanterns, the kind used for weddings, hung from the ceiling, but the walls were lined with paper effigies of servants and horses used for funeral rites. It was creepy. The whole room had a bizarre, unsettling vibe that clashed with the luxurious, modern decor outside. Pushing aside a curtain, I almost gasped. In the center of the room was a giant, circular stone platform. Its edges were carved with all sorts of runic symbols, and spirit money and incense were burning on it. The setup looked familiar, probably some kind of sacrificial altar used in many different rituals. The living corpse was pinned to the platform with 7 soul-suppressing nails, its face twisted in agony as it looked at me. Its mouth was open, making muffled, whimpering sounds. My brow furrowed. His mouth was a black hole. His tongue had been ripped out by the root. I quickly moved the camera away to avoid getting my stream shut down. He was a vengeful spirit my master captured years ago. A voice suddenly spoke from behind me. I spun around in a panic. It was Aiden Pierce? My senses have always been sharp, but I didn't even notice him approach. Seeing me back away warily, Aiden scoffed. Breaking and entering. A little late to run now, isn't it? I forced myself to stay calm and confronted him. You're a mystic too? I was in poor health as a kid, so I was sent to live with Master Schwanching for a couple of years. He shrugged casually. Doesn't make me a mystic. I hissed under my breath. Of course, the best only hang out with the best. The viewers in my live stream were more or less interested in, or had studied this circle, so many of them recognized the name. Master Schwanching? A top figure in the world of mystics, highly respected. I heard he's made great contributions in medicine, alchemy, astronomy, military strategy, sword forging, and Taoist rituals. I think he even participated in a national-level pharmaceutical research project. Yes. So many celebrities beg him to do their feng shui. Didn't he retire from the world years ago? He went on to become an immortal. Why did I hear that Master Schwanching died, but his body never decomposed? I'd never met him, so I couldn't verify any of that. But if Aiden Pierce had studied under Master Schwanching, it would make sense for him to have a spiritual artifact or two that would keep him free of yin energy. I turned to look at the living corpse. You said he's a vengeful spirit? Aiden's tone was impatient, but it was much more polite than before. He slaughtered 6 families in one night just to absorb their life force. He was supposed to be punished in the underworld. But he took advantage of the ghost festival today, when the gates of the underworld are wide open, and escaped. He stole a corpse from somewhere, and came to get revenge on me. He stared at the living corpse, a flash of disgust in his eyes. An evil spirit escaping has caused demonic energy to spread everywhere. His crimes are unforgivable. The living corpse, as if provoked, suddenly began to struggle violently, grabbing my hand. I jumped, taking half a step back, and stared as a black ring of demonic energy visibly appeared on my wrist. Aiden grabbed the living corpse's arm and snapped it, then dipped his fingers in the black dog's blood on the table, and smeared it on the ghoul's forehead. The living corpse was subdued again, its mouth open in a low growl, as if it wanted to tear him apart. I clutched my wrist and caught my breath. Is this an exorcism? It's a soul purification array. Aiden toyed with one of the soul-suppressing nails, his tone dismissive. He's already consumed by his demons. He can't be set free. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about the living corpse. On my desk lay a crumpled note. The living corpse had secretly slipped it into my hand when it grabbed my wrist in Aiden's hidden room. Even though its face was stiff and expressionless, I had a strange feeling it meant me no harm. When it grabbed my hand, it didn't feel like an attack. It felt more like an entrustment. There was no reason for it, just a feeling. I shook my head. A vengeful spirit entrusting me with something? Could it get any more ridiculous? The note was grimy, with a few numbers scrawled on it. It looked like a birth chart. I'd read it. The owner of the chart had a very good fate. They weren't old, but they were definitely dead. I had no idea what he was trying to tell me. I propped my chin on my hand, listlessly dealing with the callers on my live stream. The chat was getting restless. The host seems a little out of it these last few days. Not even motivated to make money. Her money-grubbing persona is about to collapse. No way. She must have taken on a huge private gig behind our backs. Possible. Look at the dark circles under her eyes. Ah. It must be one of those spells that uses little ghosts to steal money. Is that a thing? Host, please post a link. Using little ghosts? I mulled over those words, my pupils shrinking as I shot up straight in my chair. No wonder I'd been feeling so uneasy, like something was wrong. That thing in Aiden's hidden room wasn't a soul purification array at all. I tore through my dad's old books, finally finding a diagram of that array. The 18 corpse array. No wonder it looked familiar. My dad once told me that the 18 corpse array was one of the most evil and heaven-defying rituals in dark magic. In just 7 days, it could refine a living corpse into something far more malevolent and bring it under the user's control. I carefully recalled what I had seen at Aiden's house and compared it to the records in the book. It was a perfect match. By my calculations, tonight would be the 7th day. What on earth was Aiden Pierce trying to do? I clutched the crumpled note, a growing sense of dread in my heart. Could he have used the wrong array by mistake? A refined living corpse, which we call a corpse fiend, is as powerful as a century-old demon. If he really completes the 7-day ritual, I'm afraid it won't be easy to handle. I slammed my hand on the table. I had to go back. If it really was a mistake, there might still be time to fix it. I was about to end the stream, but my viewers wanted to come along. Ever since Aiden Pierce made his appearance, my fans had been threatening to switch their allegiance. After all, he was the city's golden boy, handsome, rich, and full of personality. And surprisingly, he could also exorcise demons and subdue a living corpse with a single touch. Very alluring. Even a few minor celebrities had been popping into my stream, pretending to get their fortunes told, but really hoping for a chance to connect with him. When it comes to chasing clout, I have no shame. I started the stream and headed over. By the time I got to Aiden's neighborhood, it was already past 7 in the evening. Many residents were out for a walk after dinner. Kids were running around. People were walking their dogs in the square. It was quite lively. I chatted with my viewers as I walked toward the villa. The further I walked, the more something felt wrong. At some point, a thick white fog had risen around me. The people who had been strolling around, their faces slowly began to change. They wore different clothes, but their skin was all pale and bluish, their lips blood red. And where their eyes should have been, there were only 2 dark, empty holes. They held mourning sticks and soul-summoning banners, swaying as they surrounded me. These were the paper effigies burned for the dead. My mind instantly flashed back to the row of paper figures lining the wall in Aiden's hidden room. Malshon paper manipulation. Judging by the number of paper figures, my opponent was powerful. Feeling the strong resentment coming from the paper figures, I instinctively reached for my lower back. My hand found nothing. I couldn't help but curse. I didn't bring my bag. A careless mistake. With a shrill little laugh, a red-clothed paper figure shot through the air. My pupils contracted. As I dodged and spun, I ripped the beaded bracelet from my wrist and tore it apart. With a flick of my finger, I sent a bead flying, hitting the red paper figure with precision. The paper figure let out a wail, burst into a greenish flame, and was reduced to ashes in seconds. Family heirloom peachwood bracelet. Wards off evil, summons spirit soldiers. Hit me up for the link later. I was spouting ads, but my hands didn't stop moving. After taking down a few more paper figures, I seized an opening, pulled at the fabric on my shoulder to cover a wound. They had appeared so suddenly, and I didn't have any proper talismans on me. Even with my quick reaction, I still took a heavy blow from one of the effigy's mourning staffs. I was bleeding. The previously silent chat instantly exploded. Provoked by the scent of blood, all the paper figures started moving. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. They flew everywhere, leaving afterimages in the air. Relying on my agility, I dodged and weaved, but I was outmatched and still got hit a few more times. I had a limited number of beads, and they ran out quickly. There were still a lot of paper figures left. I took a deep breath. This was tough. Teach me to slay demons, grant me divine power. I call upon the Jade Maiden to capture all that is profane. Banish monsters, cast out ghosts. Begone. I shouted the banishing verse, forcing the paper figures back, and used the opening to roll on the ground and break out of their encirclement. The fog was getting thicker, and I couldn't see a thing. The paper figures could easily hide in the mist and launch sneak attacks at any moment. The situation was not looking good. I rested my hands on my knees, panting slightly, and chanted a warding spell, conjuring a strong gust of wind out of thin air. The fog was too dense. The wind only managed to clear a small patch before it was quickly filled in again. But it was enough for me to see my surroundings. Just as I thought. The scene had changed. This wasn't the residential community, it looked like a graveyard. It was an illusion array. A heavenly dipper formation combined with Maushan paper manipulation. Aiden Pierce, was he actually trying to kill me? After midnight, the corpse fiend would be complete. After just one meeting, without me even knowing his true purpose, he had set a lethal trap for me. If that corpse fiend was successfully created, I had no doubt I would be the first to die. I tore off a piece of my pant leg and emptied the cinnabar pouch I carried with me. I bit my fingertip, dipped it in the cinnabar, and in a few swift strokes, drew a blood talisman directly onto the fabric. 5 stars align in splendor, illuminating the mystic darkness. 1,000 gods and 10,000 saints protect this true spirit. Mighty celestial beasts subdue the 5 weapons. Demons of the 5 heavens perish and fade. By the decree of all gods, appear. As the talisman was cast, a 5-colored light erupted in midair, dispersing the thick fog. The paper figures instantly turned to dust and were blown away by the wind. Powering a talisman with blood gives it a massive boost. Using it on paper manipulation was overkill. But I had no other choice right now. Without the paper figures in my way, the illusion array wasn't hard to break. By combining the 12 palaces of Chiman with the 9 celestial stars, it was easy to figure out the locations of the array's core and pressure points. I calculated the directions, moved in sync with the changing positions, my feet flying. I cleanly dismantled 3 of the array's foundations. A ripple of spiritual energy. The array opened. With the illusion gone, I saw that I had unknowingly walked to the mountain behind the residential complex. One more step, and I would have fallen off the edge. I stumbled backward, wiping the cold sweat from my forehead. The viewers in the live stream were comforting me. Using a blood talisman drains a lot of your life force. As I sat on the ground to catch my breath, I quickly pieced things together. Aiden Pierce had lied. I couldn't say for sure if his power was greater than mine, but it was definitely beyond what anyone could achieve by just spending 2 years with Master Schwanching. I looked up at the bright moon in the sky. Time was running out. He was clearly stalling. If I went to the Pierce house now, I wasn't confident I could stop the 18 corpse array before midnight. A head-on confrontation was the worst option, which means the best option was. I got up, dusted off my pants, and gave the camera a sweet smile. 30 galaxy gifts, and I'll show you guys something you've never seen before, a real treat. I didn't go home. I went to the old house in the suburbs. This was my dad's workshop before he retired. I could find everything I needed there. After setting up my phone, I rummaged through boxes and piles of stuff, and to my surprise, I actually found an inflatable doll. As I leaned over it, blowing the dust off its plastic body, the chat was stunned. In the light of day, under the watchful eye of heaven, what are you doing, host? Is this something we can watch without donating? Did I stumble into the wrong live stream? The mods have already checked in several times. What kind of R-rated plot is this? I can't watch. TSK, you're all so young. What are you thinking? I patted the inflatable doll. We're about to snatch a living corpse from the city's golden boy. This is our secret weapon. May I be so bold as to ask, is the doll going to do the snatching? When people use a honey trap, they at least use a beautiful person. What is this? This doll is average looking. I'm not sure my idol will fall for it. Can you at least show some sincerity? Alright folks, hold on tight. I set up a brazier and an incense table, laid out paper money and ingots, a row of rice, yellow paper, cinnabar, and brushes, and then ordered a live chicken for delivery before finally taking a moment to reply to the chat. What you are about to witness is a scene you have never seen before. It's showtime for my lineage of fate readers. The soul-snatching ritual. I lit a candle in the southeast corner of the room. The The flame was small but steady. The live chicken was tied to a table leg, covered with a black cloth, and kept clucking. I lit 3 sticks of incense, walking in specific patterns as I mumbled prayers to the deities of the 4 directions. To find a true spirit, I borrow this noble space. Underworld messengers, do not block my path. Earthly immortals, please step aside. If I have offended, please do not hold a grudge. All unrelated entities, leave at once. I neatly wrote the birth chart the living corpse had given me on a piece of yellow paper, and stuck it to the inflatable doll's chest. I didn't know if this birth chart truly belonged to that evil spirit. But right now, gambling was my only option. I stood the doll against the wall, then brought out the one-of-a-kind, top-grade cinnabar my dad had left me, mixing it with realgar and strong liquor. A normal person has 206 bones, but a rare few have 207. That extra bone, we usually call it the oracle bone. People with an oracle bone can be considered half immortal from birth. The spirit mediums, shamans, and seers you've heard of all have this bone. If you want to invite a soul to possess a body, you must have an oracle bone to withstand it. Going head-to-head with Aiden to snatch the living corpse was a race against time I couldn't win. So my only option was this underhanded trick: to directly snatch the evil spirit inhabiting the corpse. Without the spirit, it would just be a regular decaying body, unable to become a corpse fiend. Then whether I captured the spirit, sealed it, or sent it back to the underworld, it would be much easier to deal with. I don't have an oracle bone, so I can't have a vengeful spirit possess me. My dad does, but my mom would never allow it. She would kill me. So I had to take a shortcut. I dipped a weasel hair brush in the cinnabar ink and carefully drew 3 red lines on the inflatable doll's forehead. The first stroke summons celestial soldiers, the second terrifies ghosts and gods, the third grants all wishes. Malevolent spirits, flee 1,000 miles away. After covering it in talismans, I put down the brush, quite pleased with myself. I made it a fake oracle bone. It won't fool the gods, but it's more than enough to trick a little ghost. Aren't I a genius? This doll was the new vessel for that evil spirit. I glanced at my watch. It was almost 11 p.m. I needed to hurry up. I adjusted the camera angle and said, "When I scatter the guiding rice in a moment, don't look behind me, and don't turn around. Otherwise, if you get afflicted by something, you'll have to pay me to fix it." The chat was already shaken by my series of actions, crying that they were too scared to watch, that they wouldn't look even if it killed them. They even said I didn't need to worry, they were leaving right now. But the number of viewers in the live stream hadn't dropped by a single person. It had already broken 1 million. Every single one of them was a scaredy cat who loved the thrill. I scattered the rice, tossed the toll money for the spirits, and then burned paper for the dead. The smoke billowed and rose slowly. As I tended to the brazier, the temperature in the room dropped instead of rising. My breath came out in faint white puffs, and the curtains moved without any wind. I didn't need to turn around to know there was a crowd of little ghosts peeking over my shoulder. Today was the ghost festival, and the gates of the underworld were wide open. It was expected that the soul-summoning ritual would attract this bunch of stragglers. Without even looking up, I tossed a stack of yellow paper into the brazier and warned in a loud voice, "If this doesn't concern you, get lost. If it's your 7th day, go visit your family. If you're just passing through, go get reincarnated. This is not a party you can afford to crash." The chat was on the verge of tears. "My mom is asking who you're talking to. Please host, just get it over with. Scare us to death already." I'm literally crying. The little ghosts either left or hid. The candlelight in the corner flickered twice, and then went out without warning. I turned to the window. "It's here." Then I threw all the yellow paper in my hand into the brazier. A gust of wind rose from nowhere, swirling the paper money from the brazier, and gradually enveloping the inflatable doll standing by the wall. The doll suddenly fell to the ground and began to tremble violently, but no spirit possessed it. I frowned, picked up a tray of glutinous rice, and violently ripped the black cloth off the rooster, flinging the rice at it. The rooster flapped its wings, craned its neck, and began to crow. A spirit's power is at its weakest at the crack of dawn. That's why soul-summoning rituals are usually more successful when performed in the early morning. I was short on time today, and it was almost midnight, precisely when spirits are at their strongest. I had made a fake oracle bone and used the rooster's crow to simulate a fake dawn. But the evil spirit from the living corpse still hadn't arrived. The 3 bright red cinnabar marks on the doll's forehead were already faintly turning black. It was Aiden. I wasn't sure before if that birth chart belonged to the evil spirit, but since Aiden had intervened to stop it, I knew I was on the right track. The sun rises in the east, brilliant and bright. Any curse it meets shall die, all evil is instantly slain. All ghosts and monsters shall be banished from my sight. Within the 3 realms, what dares to stand against me? I shouted out the binding chant. The wind instantly tore the birth chart off the inflatable doll, howling in my ears. At first listen, it sounded like the wailing of 1,000 people. I gritted my teeth, dipped my fingers in cinnabar, and drew a talisman in the air, then pushed it forward with force. The talismans drawn on the inflatable doll glowed with a blinding red light, then gradually dimmed. The wind stopped. The wailing stopped too. The doll turned over. I glanced at my watch. Midnight, 12 a.m. sharp. As if unfamiliar with this new body, the inflatable doll tried several times before it finally managed to pull itself up by the table and stand, swaying. It looked down at the smooth, clean lines of its new body, then silently picked up a piece of the curtain and wrapped it around its waist. As if that didn't feel right, it held the fabric up to its chest, adjusting it. It didn't have a strong malevolent aura. It was actually a bit dazed and comical. I momentarily set aside the thought of subduing it and tossed it a jacket. After getting dressed, it bowed to me and then spoke. Fate reader, you are very rough. The voice sounded familiar, but I couldn't remember where I'd heard it. What's the situation? Since he had given me a birth chart, it proved he really did want something from me. What's the deal between you and Aiden Pierce? If you killed all those people to absorb their life force, then he was right to destroy you. I didn't. He became very agitated at that and dropped a bombshell. I am Aiden Pierce. He killed me and stole my body. I was stunned. Well, this dolled-up inflatable doll was claiming to be the city's golden boy? No wonder the voice sounded familiar. I'd just heard it not long ago. In my 2nd year after taking over the family business, he asked to meet and gave me something to drink. When I woke up, I realized I'd been captured by him. His voice was filled with palpable fear as he spoke. He said he wanted to borrow my body for a while. As if afraid I wouldn't believe him, he grabbed my arm anxiously. I really didn't kill anyone. He's the one who killed me. Since you're a fate reader, you can tell. He pulled open the jacket, puffing out his chest toward me. Look closely. I really haven't killed anyone. I'd already looked. 3060. It was a tight fit. But if I had to choose between the guy in the Pierce villa and the 3060 in front of me, I was more inclined to believe the latter. I pushed him away, slightly embarrassed. Your fate did show a disaster, but the souls of those who die violent deaths are supposed to be investigated by the underworld. Didn't you tell them? He shook his head. I never went to the underworld. After I died, he kept me locked in a jar. Later, a few other girls were locked in with me, all killed by him. Today is the Ghost Festival, so they used all their strength to help me escape, hoping I could get revenge for them. I never expected to be caught as soon as I got there. I pursed my lips helplessly. A moth to a flame. What did he expect? A rich family's young master couldn't carry a thing. He was coddled his whole life, new to the real world. How could he understand the darkness in people's hearts? I read his birth chart. He died 5 years ago. According to him, many souls have been trapped in that jar for years, undetected even by the underworld's reapers. The person who did this must be extremely skilled. A thought struck me. Who was it that killed you all? He gritted his teeth. Master Xuancheng. I clicked my tongue. When I was still a kid, Xuancheng was already famous. In our circle, he commanded the highest prices. Later, I heard he retired in his 40s. My dad even lamented what a loss it was. I looked troubled. I might not be able to beat him. Aiden misunderstood and from somewhere, pulled out a thick stack of pink cash. I have money. If you help me, I can pay you anything. Afraid it wasn't enough, he pulled out several more stacks and piled them in front of me. I was tempted, but still a bit surprised. Where did you get this money? Aiden looked a little embarrassed. On my way to the villa, I won it from a few earthbound spirits. They've been dead for a long time, so their families burn them a lot of money. I squinted and picked up a stack of bills. Bank of Heaven and Earth denomination, 10 billion. Great. The chat was dying of laughter. She didn't get paid for that last big job, and now she gets a pile of spirit money. The host's life is tragic. Allow me to laugh for a full minute. Even though you're crying so sadly, I'm laughing so loudly. My idol is tragic too. TBF, my idol is truly the Pierce family heir. He can make money even as a ghost. No wonder bad guys targeted him. Let's crowdfund. Please, host, help him. In the middle of the night, an inflatable doll covered in talismans was holding a pile of spirit money, staring at me intently, waiting for my nod. The scene was just too weird. I symbolically took one bill and tucked it away, magnanimously declaring, I'll take the case. It's not like I had a choice. I'd already snatched the guy. Xuanqing wasn't going to let this go. Aiden had indeed spent 2 years with Xuanqing as a child. He had a strong Yin constitution, which made him prone to attracting unclean things. And then there was his status. So it wasn't hard to understand why Xuanqing would choose to steal his body. But there were still many unanswered questions. For example, why did Xuanqing want to refine him into a corpse fiend? Aiden said he didn't know. Why did Xuanqing kill all those other girls? Aiden said he didn't know that either. Even the souls themselves didn't know. One thing was certain. Besides Aiden, all the others who died were girls, and they had no family. Xuanqing used his status as a master in the mystic circle to get close to them, then killed them silently. That's why, for so many years, no one had reported them missing. So where were their bodies? Aiden shook his head. I sighed. So, you also don't know where you were held captive for the past 5 years, do you? Being imprisoned in a ward right after death, while not affecting his mind, would dull his senses for a while. When I first saw him, he was outside the villa sniffing Xuanqing's clothes. He must have been in a daze, following the scent. As expected, Aiden shook his head again. But then he added that although he didn't remember the exact location, he could lead me there. It turned out that Aiden Pierce was truly a business genius, with a sharp mind. With his eyes closed, he muttered a long string of directions, floating straight for 782 paces, turning left at the sound of a horn, then turning right after seeing a hazy light, and floating another 539 paces, turning again at the 9th obstacle. He finally stopped in front of an abandoned Taoist temple. The courtyard was covered in fallen leaves and weeds. The main hall was protected by a ward. I took a picture and sent it to my dad. A reply came back shortly after. Grand Soul Sealing Array. I knew about the Grand Soul Sealing Array. It uses 17 ancient coins stained with a child's eyebrow hair, which we call spirit collars, to create a miniature 7 gates labyrinth. A vengeful soul that enters the array will be lost forever. The coins themselves, having passed through thousands of hands, are already heavy with yang energy. Combined with the child's eyebrow hair, which is actually a drop of blood from the tip of the array master's tongue, it can suppress the flow of resentful energy. Aiden's resentment wasn't that strong, and with the boost from the Ghost Festival, he managed to stumble out by accident. I asked my dad if he could break it, draw the Yin energy from the array with a living talisman, then seal the Yin meridian with true yang saliva. Without a source of resentment, the Yin energy in the mini labyrinth will dissipate in a few days. True yang saliva is just human spit mixed with blood. I sighed and glanced at the inflatable doll. First I bite my finger, then I bite my tongue. This bloody disaster wasn't meant for you. It was meant for me, wasn't it? With my dad's instructions, the array wasn't hard to break. Once I removed the core, I saw them, the clay jars that Aiden had described, the ones that had imprisoned him and the other souls. The jars were inscribed with the curse of fiery torment. Another forbidden art. A vengeful soul trapped inside would feel as if it were in hell, burned and steamed, tortured day after day. My dad once said this kind of curse was like throwing someone into a container of cold water, then heating the container until they were boiled alive. And jars like these were lined up neatly, filling the entire hall. There had to be dozens, maybe hundreds. My scalp tingled. People who are murdered already have immense resentment. To be trapped for years in such a vicious array, unable to enter the cycle of reincarnation, their resentment would only grow stronger and stronger. Then the grand soul-sealing array would convert that resentment into yin energy to sustain the person who cast it. That's how he was able to live on as Aiden Pierce. Master Xuanqing was a madman. I turned to Aiden. You never said you suffered this much. His tone was light, but tinged with sadness. Every soul here went through the same thing. At least I escaped. But the other souls in my jar, to help me. So, will you save the others? He started pulling out spirit money from somewhere again. I have money, plenty of it. If it's not enough, I can go earn more. I quickly grabbed his hand. No, I can do it. Saving them wasn't hard. The curse of fiery torment only worked on souls. It was useless against the living. Xuanqing was overconfident. He probably never imagined that a soul would sacrifice itself to help Aiden escape. And he never imagined a fellow mystic would discover this place. Besides the soul-sealing array and a small defensive ward, he hadn't set up any other protections. I quickly broke the array and brought all the vengeful souls back home. Including the 19 who had sacrificed themselves for Aiden, there were 472 in total. Just as he said, they were all girls. 472 girls dead. Even my dad, who had been in the business for decades and seen all kinds of monsters, had never witnessed something so depraved. He said that this kind of scum in the mystic community deserved to be thrown into the hell realm, and told me to do whatever I needed to do. He'd be my technical support. That gave me the confidence I needed. To figure out Xuanqing's goal, the whereabouts of the bodies were crucial. But many of these 400+ souls had been imprisoned for so long that their minds were gone. I couldn't get anything out of them. Only 5 or 6 were still coherent. Like before, they also didn't know why Xuanqing killed them or where their bodies were. When the underworld reapers came to collect them, they were shocked. Aiden's spirit money finally came in handy, used as bribes and passage fees for the vengeful souls. After some negotiation, I managed to get the basic information on all of them. The earliest one had died 17 years ago. The victims' ages varied greatly, from 5 or 6 to 50 or 60. Their birth charts were all pure yin. And the timing of their deaths, which seemed random, actually corresponded to the numerology of the 9 lives. I had a very bad feeling. Xuanqing went to my house and even tried to contact me through a middleman, saying he wanted to talk. From his attitude, it seemed he didn't know I had broken his soul-sealing array yet. But without the yin energy supplement, it was only a matter of time before he found out. I gave him some vague answers and kept avoiding him. He probably thought I was scared off by his little paper effigies. 7 days later, in the morning, I started a live stream and went to a run-down old residential area in the north of the city. Aiden was wearing a dress, the brim of his hat pulled down low. As long as you didn't look too closely, he almost looked real. The chat was hysterical. Aiden adjusted his dress and turned his head away haughty. I am the great golden boy of the city, and you're using me like a police dog. Aren't you afraid of karma? I stared at an unremarkable 2-story building, trying not to laugh. This is it. He nodded. I took out my phone and dialed 911. I guessed right. Aiden could really smell Xuanqing's scent. A few minutes after the police arrived, the neighbors all swarmed over. The crowd was buzzing, as if they had seen something incredible. My heart leaped with joy. Did we find the crime scene this easily? I squeezed my way to the front. To my surprise, there were several women lying on the ground in the small building's courtyard. They were alive. They were completely naked, though someone had thrown jackets over them. Their exposed skin was flushed red, and their eyes were glazed over. They were all clustered around a man's feet, writhing like snakes, letting out obscene moans and gasps. A few more people were crawling out from behind them. I clicked my tongue. This didn't look like a spell or a curse. It looked more like they'd been given some kind of sleazy drug. The man ignored the crowd's stares and fixed his gaze on me, his eyes murderous. I was a bit surprised. Well, if it isn't Master Xuanqing, weren't you retired? I had grabbed a little ghost outside the Pierce villa and learned that Xuanqing, in Aiden's body, would disappear for a few days every so often. If he wanted to keep using Aiden's identity, he would have to protect his reputation. So I concluded that when Xuanqing killed people, He wouldn't use Aiden's body, nor would he choose a place connected to Aiden. My dad said that by killing people and stealing their bodies, he was already defying heaven's will and needed a large amount of yin energy to keep the corpse from decaying. He most likely wanted to create a corpse fiend to control it to kill for him, replenishing the vengeful souls in his soul-sealing array. That way, he could just sit at home and get a continuous supply of yin energy. Aiden had followed Xuanqing's scent and led me here. I had called the police on the pretext of seeing a burglar, just to get their attention on him. I never expected to stumble upon a scene like this. I'd seen enough to guess what was happening. The women were in their 40s, and though they weren't wearing much, you could tell from their jewelry and makeup that they were wealthy. They didn't have much yin energy on them, nor the aura of impending death. Xuanqing probably wasn't trying to kill them, he was just having some fun. And I had accidentally exposed him. No wonder he was shooting daggers at me with his eyes. I glared back at him. Serves you right. The chat had already exploded. WTF, 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 what kind of massive orgy is this? A middle-aged group piston party? Poverty has limited my imagination. So this is what your world of mystics is like. Wild. Of course, no burglar was found at the scene. Xuanqing's actions were, at most, immoral. The police conducted a thorough investigation, questioned him, and soon left. The crowd dispersed. Xuanqing glanced at the inflatable doll, his eyes vicious. Aiden flinched instinctively, then gritted his teeth, puffed out his chest, and met his gaze. You'll get what's coming to you. Xuanqing began to form a hand seal. Whoa, 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 a big shot like you wouldn't want to get your hands dirty with a junior like me, I said, stepping in front of Aiden. Let's handle this civilly. Xuanqing stared daggers at Aiden, then finally relaxed his fingers. I let out a breath of relief. He stepped aside, clearing the doorway, and said to me, I thought you wouldn't dare to come find me. I told Aiden to leave first, then took a deep breath and stepped inside. I know I can't beat you, but I want to try. He laughed contemptuously. You overestimate yourself. I tilted my head but said nothing. This apartment, though it looked shabby from the outside, was very clean inside. It must have been newly renovated. I could still faintly smell the paint. Table, chairs, bed, cabinets, even a small fish tank. A perfectly ordinary decorating style. Against the wall stood a person-sized altar, the wooden craftsmanship of the highest quality. It was spotless, clearly cleaned meticulously every day. Flowers, fruit, incense, lamps, and water were all present. But there was no statue of a deity. I frowned slightly. An altar with nothing to worship? He sat down on the sofa, spreading his arms across the backrest, silent. I raised an eyebrow at the camera. Streams over, folks. See you next time. Only after I put my phone down did he snort and speak. You think that just because you snatched that vengeful spirit, you can do anything to me? It's not just about that vengeful spirit. I said calmly, I also broke your soul-sealing array. His expression changed slightly, then he chuckled. So that's why, but so what? I can build one of those arrays, I can build 10. You are no match for me. What can you do? Send me to jail? You should know, I can switch bodies anytime I want. I sat down across from him and spread my hands in a gesture of regret. I'm afraid you won't have that chance, senior. Jail? I spread my arms too, mimicking his arrogant posture, and laughed contemptuously. As a top-tier fate reader, I'll give you a free reading today. You're about to die. The death penalty, to be carried out immediately. As for jail, you'll have to wait until you're dead and in the hell realm for that. He burst out laughing. Ridiculous. You and I are both mystics. If you move against me, you'll be defying the heavens and suffer a backlash. You could even lose your own life. As for the death penalty, that's even more of a joke. You just called the police. Did they find anything? I'll be honest with you. I killed people in this very room. But why do you think this place gets renovated over and over again? My face changed. Even if you tear this house apart, you'll never find any evidence. Well, it's not entirely hopeless. There is some evidence. I opened my palm, showing the 17 ancient coins from the soul-sealing array. These have your tongue-tip blood on them. Did you forget, senior? He laughed back. And what does that prove? The people are dead. Are you going to catch a ghost and tell the police I killed them? Or maybe have that inflatable doll testify against me. Give up. You are no match for me. I nodded. I can't beat you. Even if my dad hadn't crippled his own hands, he probably wouldn't be a match for you either. Those bodies. I paused. You made them into human pillars, didn't you? He gave me an interested look, but said nothing. I continued. From the glorious gardens and prosperous orchids 17 years ago, to the newly built Begonia Bay and Riverside Gardens. From when you first started helping those bosses choose sites and alter their feng shui, to when you stole Aiden Pierce's identity to build residential complexes and get into real estate. All the properties that have passed through your hands over the years, coincidentally, can be connected on a map to form a massive ritual array. You imprisoned the vengeful souls of those pure Een girls to provide you with Een energy, and then you poured their bodies into the foundations. You're playing a very big game. I looked at him steadily, gritting my teeth as I said each word. The ritual for eternal life. Brilliant. He clapped. Truly brilliant. To figure out so much from just one stupid living corpse. I really underestimated you. His smile vanished and he looked up at me. But where's your proof? Are you going to tear down all those buildings and dig up the bodies from the concrete foundations? Who has that kind of power? He scanned the room, a smirk on his face. And in here, you won't even find a fingerprint. I shrugged. As long as you admit it, that's enough. I picked up my phone and said to the camera, my dear viewers, did you all get that on screen record? The chat flooded with a uniform response. Recorded. Get him. On the other end of the line, the police officer was still in shock, but he remained professional, quickly composing himself. If the renovations were thorough, it would indeed be very difficult to find evidence. Even with his confession, it might not. Before he could finish, a large number of police officers burst through the door. Xuanqing was completely unfazed, slowly sipping his tea. Just in time. I'd like to report a crime. He looked at me, the amusement in his eyes unconcealed. She drugged me with an illegal substance, causing me to hallucinate and say things that never happened. The police were stunned. A young officer secretly pulled me aside, worried. We've dealt with high IQ criminals like him before. Without concrete evidence, it's really hard to convict him. If he turns this around on you, you could get dragged into it. I smiled. I was actually really worried about that. I stood up and slowly walked to the window. Senior is too smart, leaving no loose ends. I stood before the altar and pressed my palms together in a gesture of respect. They say the gods are watching from 3 feet above, but many people don't believe it. You don't believe it either, Senior, which is why you don't worship anything. I know this house has been cleaned spotless, that there's no way any evidence was left behind. My hand swept across the altar's surface as I spoke softly. But what about this? I looked at Xuanqing, my voice firm. Did you replace this? He froze. The base of the altar was stained with the blood of many people. After Aiden Pierce's soul was returned to his body, he came to thank me. I deliberately sighed dramatically. They dug up 7 bodies from the construction site of your family's new development. The project probably won't sell now. He shook his head. To be able to convict that bastard, it's worth it even if I go bankrupt. It won't come to that. I patted his shoulder. Don't worry, he's getting the death penalty guaranteed. What happens to him after he dies, leave that to me. The realm of hell, the realm of hungry ghosts, the realm of beasts. I have some connections in the underworld. I'll make sure he never gets out. Aiden nodded, his lips pressed together, silent. I chuckled. Why so gloomy, golden boy? Want to do something for the ladies who helped you? Aiden's eyes instantly lit up. Can I? I shrugged. Money makes the world go round, and I do have a certain social standing. I raised an eyebrow at the camera. Same as always, 30 galaxy gifts, and I'll show you all something you've never seen before. The end.